block and position, I guess you could say. Just because the way I like to think about it is it's an easy grip to get. It's a universal grip. You can get it from a lot of different spots. But then once you have the grip, you just have to move your body around to where you need it. So we're going to go over a really simple entry into a more trap position. Really common position is half guard. The guy's going to shoot for an underhook. And look, if I do nothing, or if I reach up high, he's going to start to take my back every time. He's going to win this fight. So the very first thing we're going over is probably one of the most useful things we're going over today, is when he gets an underhook, and I get low, and I pinch my elbow over his elbow. If he comes up onto his elbow, look, I'm still getting low, and I'm trying to put my chin on his head. I'll reach for the near side of underhook just by pinching him. And start putting some weight on it, but I circle him like this, to put him flat. Once I put his back on the ground, I'm going to rotate one arm over, and I'm going to rotate one arm. So make sure that your pinch is over his bicep and tricep, not high up by his shoulder. It's up high like this. He's going to shrug, and he's going to roll me over. So when I'm here, I'm low towards the center. So again, if he reaches for an unhook, get low, pinch here. You can start to put weight on it and put him flat. Rotate. We're going to do it. Now I'm going to start to lock with it more. First, I'm going to grip right around his wrist with my index and ring finger, and thread my hand through. And once I thread my hand through, I let go of the thumb grip, and I'm going to grip near the thumbs. All right? It's unrealistic for me to try to put his hand on the mat like this. If the guy's super strong, or just grabs onto his gi or hugs his thigh, it's going to be stuck here anyway. So when you guys are practicing this, keep the arm here. Once I'm here, I'm going to kickstand onto my head like this and put my knuckles right into his hip. I'm going to start to hip escape and first get my knee in and then work to get my toes in. It's really important that I get my toes in and not just my shin, because if he's holding on real tight, I can't get my foot out. But if I get my toes here, hold on real tight, it's real easy for me to push and pull and extract my leg from over his head and then pull my hips underneath of him just like this. All right? So we're going to go through that again. He goes for an underhook. I pinch down low and start to put some weight on him. Rotate here just like this. I'm going to make my grip, thread through. Once I have my grip, kickstand under your head and shoulder like this. So all my weight's here, makes my legs nice and light and easier for me to hip escape and then eventually get my toes in. Push, pull. I'm going to hip escape over him and then bring my hips underneath. The most important thing that you do here when you have someone in this position is that I'm going to focus on locking my arms out straight and curling my wrists and keeping tension on. So his elbow's flared up and his wrist is pushed down. So if he tries to rotate or turn his body to get out, it's really difficult. All right? So when you're in this position, I can't be relaxed with my arm. I'm not necessarily even holding with my fingers. You can see I'm shooting my hands so far through that the bend where it catches his wrist is right at the crook of my wrist, like this. So I'm not even using my fingers. All right, this is a super strong position. You guys, I want you to, when you get in the position, have the guy test it. So keep your lock strong, see if the guy can turn in. Go turn in. If he can't, if my lock was weak, go ahead, turn in. He'll be able to come up to his knees. All right. Everything that we're going to do is going to start in this position, because if you have a good understanding of how to do the Kimura from this position, it's going to be a lot easier to understand Kimura from any other position. So we're going to go through an entire series, starting from here, going through that entry. Does anyone want to see it one more time?
Yeah, if you don't mind. Thanks.
Yeah, so we're here. I pinch down low. You can see my chin is where his hip is. I can start to circle and put him flat. Pass your arm over, and we're here. Thread through, and you can see I already started to kickstand onto my head and shoulder. Hip escape by pushing first with your hand on his hip to get your knee in. I'll take my time. I really can't emphasize that enough. I really take my time in this position because he's not going anywhere. Push and pull on the inside of his knee to extract your leg. Hip escape over, bring your hips back in, and then I want you guys to curl your wrist and flare his elbow up just like this. And you guys can have the guy practice. All right? You guys good?
Yes.
Right. 1, 2. So you guys with underhook. Make sure that your chin is low by his hip. The elbows underneath your butt. Even if this isn't good, if he's real strong, he's going to shrug me off and start going like that. So I stay real low. Put him down. I rotate. I wrap up the Kimura once again.
He's probably going to be keeping tension on his arm, so his arm's going to be stuck here in his hip anyway. Tripod on your head and shoulder, hip escape. Bring your knee in through this gap. All right, instead of me trying to like rotate my foot this way, it's kind of awkward. I bring my knee in through this gap, and then it's easy for me to get my toes on the inside of the knee to push, pull, extract over his head, and then come underneath here. All right, since we're wearing a gi, I'm going to show you guys some little details. If you're wearing a gi, how you can hold. Now, as long you have to keep this tension on the entire time. So I'm still keeping the tension of keeping his elbow flared out the entire time, but I can kind of cheat in the gi by one, either grabbing right next to his hip on the pants and then locking my arm up to keep it strong. Or if I feel like he can kind of slip his hand out, look, I'll pull down on his gi jacket from the armpit, and then I can lock it in here like this. And this really locks it in position. All right, so those are just some gi options. You don't have to do that. The main thing is that you understand how to keep your wrist curl and flare his elbow up. So whether I have the gi here or here, I still have that tension. All right, so we're going to go over the first option, which is what I refer to as the power Kimura. I think it's the strongest and the best Kimura finish. So from here, I'm going to give a little hip escape and put my knee just underneath the same side shoulder. This is doing two things. One, it's going to put a little bit more pressure on his shoulder. And two, it helps me measure my distance so I know I can throw my other foot over into his hand. And you can see I already started shooting my other leg underneath. So I was here, hip escape, knee underneath the shoulder. Throw the foot over, and I'm going to start to pick myself up and rotate onto my forehead like so. Other leg is underneath of his head. And notice how I'm posting on his hip here with my foot. My toes are pointing downward and not, I've seen some people just kind of have their foot here. But toes like this. From here, look, I'm going to push off of him like I'm doing a squat or a deadlift and start to flare his elbow up and rotate his hand at the same time. All right, Greg's got pretty flexible shoulders, but some people are going to tap a lot earlier. So just keep in mind that everyone's got a different level of flexibility. So we're here, hip escape, knee underneath the shoulder, throw the foot over, rotate to your forehead, and look, I push off of him. Notice that I'm sliding on my forehead, and I'm rotating his arm at the same time. Very important that I'm posted straight on my forehead and not on my head like this, just for reasons of you don't want to crank your own neck, and you won't be able to apply the lock as strong. So make sure you're posted straight on your forehead like this, and then it's easy. Look, I flare his elbow up, and then the rotation at the end is really easy. Anyone want to see that again?
Yes, please.
All right. So we end up in our position here. Keep that tension on the entire time. Hip escape, knee underneath the shoulder. Throw the foot over, rotate and pick yourself up, posted straight on your forehead. Push off of the hip to help extend and flare his elbow out, and then I can rotate. All right. Go ahead, give that a shot. 1, 2. So we're here, pull, I end up here, I hip escape, knee goes underneath the same side shoulder, and then I throw my foot over and rotate up. So one was, what if you're cranking it and it's just not applying enough pressure because he's flexible? And the other question was, what if the guy starts to sit up? So if he starts sitting up, yeah, if I do nothing, he's gonna get up. All right, so let's go back. When he starts to sit up, look, I'm gonna rotate with him. And I'm gonna start to focus all my effort onto beating his hip. So I plan on his hip, we keep rotating, and I'm gonna rotate with him, and then shoot my leg over his body, and we're gonna end up in this position. I'm staying heavy on his hip, like I was doing like an arm bar. So one, he can't forward roll, or if he was able to forward roll, I'm like connected and stand with him. But once I'm here, it's really easy for me to just bridge my hips and rotate and put a lot of pressure on him. All right, so again, let's just start in this position. So I'm here, once again, keeping the tension. Hip escape, knee goes underneath, throw it over, rotate up. He starts to sit up and rotate with me. Look, I follow him, so I can keep the same relative position, and then I shoot this leg over. Both my legs are clamping down, I'm bridging my hips, and rotating the arm all at the same time. Jared, how about you? So, for those of you who train with Jared, he's probably one of the strongest guys I know. So if I get this same position on him, but I sit up, and I end up in this position. Even if his hand is tucked in here, as long as you have strong pressure with your hips, you can still put a lot of pressure on him and get the tap. So I don't care if his hand's in or out, Go ahead, connect your hands together. He has his hands connected together. As long as my Kimura grip itself is strong, I can apply a lot of pressure with my hips. So that's why I refer to this as the power Kimura. It's probably the most powerful finishing position for the Kimura. And even if if he does roll and I couldn't stop him, we end up back in the same exact position we were in just a moment ago. So if we end up in the battle of me trying to apply it, he sits up, and I sit up again, and we start getting into this battle, I'm just going to stick with him and follow him until I generate enough power with my hips to get the finish. Any questions, or anyone want to see that again? Let me see again.
It kind of feels like when the head's down, like the first move, like I was getting stuck against the floor. Is that just like a rotation of the body?
Yeah, so I actually do slide on my forehead out a little bit. Definitely helps me a little. But you slide out a little bit so you can get that distance to flare his elbow. So I try to line his elbow up with his shoulder because there's a lot less give in his arm versus if his elbow's down here. So that's what I meant by extending his arm. Here, I push. See how I push off of him and it flares his elbow out? And then I might be able to get the finish from here, but he's real flexible. So most of the time, I might even force the roll to get into this position and then finish it. So, those are the things that I always focus on. All right. Any other questions?
You feel that most of the time that's where you're probably going to end up at.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to get into that power Kimura position. This is just the simplest direct way. But there's other ways we can end up in it. And we'll get into that. Cool. Why don't you guys get that shot? 1, 2. I get into my position, wrap up, kickstand on my head and shoulder, knee comes in, push, pull. We're here. So we're here. I want to go for the power Kimura, but sometimes I just can't get the right distance for me to throw my foot over. I just can't get it. So look, I'm going to keep the tension with my arms like this. I'm going to hip escape until I'm flat, and then I start to pull myself up here, and then we're in like a top side position. So first things first. If he's connecting his hands together, which is a common thing for them to do, I start to bring this knee in and I staple over his arm. So if it was no gi, he's probably going to be gripping on here, and then I can start to work to break his grip here, which is a lot easier when I have a staple for me just to pop it off. Sometimes in gi, he's going to grab onto his belt or his gi. So a nice little trick that I like to use is that I first push my hand, his hand into his body, which actually loosens his grip a little bit and gives him a false sense of security that he has the grip. And then I pull straight away, and then I can rotate over. So I push in, pull away, and then notice his elbow's connected to my whole body, and then I can rotate and finish on top. Some people are just too strong. All right, no matter what, I just can't break their grip. All right, 2 little tricks. One is I start thinking about my arms as kind of like a crowbar, and I shoot my hand through, and I can cup over his back like this. All right, so even though I'm not directly holding, it locks it in position. And now 2, I'm already up on my left foot. I'm just going to come up. I can push down on his hip and throw my other leg over, and then we're back into our power Kimura position where I can apply it this way. So we'll just start with that. Up here, so we're here. For whatever reason, I'm trying to hip escape out. I can't get the right angle for me to throw my foot. I keep my arms locked, hip escape until you're flat, and pull yourself up on his arm, kind of like you're doing a pull. We're here. Staple over his arm. See how I staple right over his bicep? I'm up on my other foot. Push into his stomach, grip away, and finish. If you really can't get it, it's really not working, shoot your arm through and cup over his back like a crowbar. This also allows me to push off of his hip, making it real easy for me to throw my leg over. I could go straight down and post on my forehead, but I prefer just dropping to my back, and now I'm in the power Kimura position where it's real easy to finish.
So you don't need to adjust your grip once you're there. You just pull on whatever you have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even with my forearm shot through like that, really far.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Use it on the.
strongest man in the world over here. Here, staple, and I'll start to put this starts to put pressure on his arm already. Here, I can still put pressure. If it's not enough, I'll switch. But notice that my fingers aren't even holding it. It's my forearm. It's my forearm up there. We're going to go over that further in detail in another Kimura position, but it's really just this curl. I have to have my arms in deep. I never want my wrists bending backwards. If your wrists bend backwards, someone like this guy is going to be able to power out of it and get out of it. But if you readjust and keep shooting your arms in deeper and curl your wrists, then it's really easy for you to keep tension and keep power on them. So it's really important that I keep my arms locked and strong, and I have that wrist curl, just like that. All right? Anyone want to see that again? All right? Attack and submit the guy. It's also a way to advance in position. So the first one we're going to go over is that the guy's pretty strong, and even though I'm keeping this tension on, some people are really stubborn and really are able to turn up and come up to the elbow. So look, if I can, I'll put tension on him and put him back down. All right. But if he comes up and I'm keeping that tension on, look, I'm going to jam my knee in here, throw my other hook in, pick him up, drop him to the other side, and look, when I switch my grip, I'm going to grab onto his hand, and I'm going to grip his wrist like this. Or I should say his hand. Instead of the wrist, look, I'm gripping his hand. It's a lot stronger every time. From here, if he's keeping his head on the ground, look, I can't just bring my arm right here. There's a gap here where his neck is, so I just shoot my hand in, and now I have his back. So again, right here, he starts to turn. Look, you can see I jam my knee in right away. I throw my other hook in, I start to pick him up and move to the other side, grip his hand, shoot this arm underneath, and now I have a strong seatbelt grip with an arm trap, and I'm on his back. One more time. Here, he turns. I still keep tension on with the arm. Look, there's never going to be a point that I relax with my arm, because if I relax here and he turns, he's just going to come up all the way. So I still keep tension on. I'm going to make it difficult for him and slow him down, even if he's able to get up here. Throw your other hook in, pick him up, drop him to the other side, grip the hand, shoot the arm underneath, and then grip. And I can always switch to this, however you want to hold it. Main thing is that it's always one. Anyone want to see that again? All right, 1, 2. Option 2 is if when I hook his leg, his arm ends up underneath. I'm still going to do the same exact movement where I come up to my knee, and then I'm going to rotate him over, and now I can start attacking a back triangle position. If you can't lock your legs right away, that's fine. Keep his elbow flared up. I can even let go of the Kimura and just focus on keeping his elbow flared up, and then use my free arm to readjust and lock the triangle. So again, option 1, I'm here. You can see my hips are really low on his body versus up here, which is more of a chance for me to get my knee underneath of his armpit and arm for me to hook. Pick yourself up. I can even hook a little bit like this with my foot, and then rotate him over, take his back, just like the last one. Option 2, I try to do the same exact thing, but when I hook, he might just put his arm there or might just end up there. Either way, I still pick myself up, go up to my knee, and look, I don't stop halfway. I rotate and drop all the way to my side and focus on bringing his elbow up to his head. I don't care if my foot's still trapped here, because it's really easy for me to start to push and extract as long as I keep the tension here. Then I can start to lock up my legs for the back triangle. So if I can't lock up my legs just by, moving my legs, focus on hugging his elbow to his head, use your free arm to pull, and then lock. And then the finish is real easy, squeeze. And for some reason squeezing isn't enough, you can relock the Kimura and then finish with the Kimura grip. All right?
So this is, so this is, they're not going to their elbow. You're taking them to their back.
Yeah,
It's not
exactly.
reacting the way you want it to try to run away.
Exactly. So
Okay.
this time they're not coming up to their elbow. He's staying flat on his back. Maybe he's just staying tense with his arm and he's not letting me
Gotcha.
move him around. I don't feel comfortable going for the first one. Maybe I feel like if I go here, he's just too strong and he might power out of it. So I don't feel comfortable going to that either. I get my hips low and just start throwing my leg in. Either his arms over, under, I really don't care, because the movement is exactly the same to get into either position, pretty much.
What's preventing his head from popping out? If he's already going for that leg, what's preventing him from actually extracting his head when you're doing the roll?
It's a good question. So I'm putting his ear to my armpit here, and when I pull myself up, see how his head's stuck here? So I don't want there to be a lot of space where his head's going to slip out, which is not the end of the world because if it slips out, good. I end up more with the top side Kimura, which we'll probably get into next. Up first, right here, look, I kind of pick his head up when I come up to my knee. That's one reason why I come up to my knee. The other reason is it's a lot easier for me to rotate all the way to my other side. Don't stop halfway and kind of free float here. I drop all the way to my side, makes it easy. It gives me my arms. I'm not using my ab muscles to hold myself up, but it allows me to use my arms and legs and everything I have to readjust. Okay. Anyone want to see that again? All right, 1, 2. So I can't hip escape and go over his head. From here, I'm going to kick my legs in this direction so I can end up in more of a top side. From here, once again, I'm not using my hand, I'm not using my fingers. I'm going to slide through and put my forearm on his arm. And then I'm going to start to lead with my elbow to drive his arm to the ground. So notice that I have like a staple over his arm like this. So if you're here, I drive through, and I put my entire body into it just like this. Now my goal, once I have his arm to the ground, is to step over his head. But he's not just going to let me do that. If he was blocking my hip before, there's a good chance that he's blocking my hip now. So when I try to step over, we get into this kind of fight. All right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to come up on both my feet, bring my knee in to a knee on belly type position. Then I'm going to start to slide my leg through like I was doing a knee cup pass so I can staple over his arm. Throw my other leg over his head, and then it's real easy. I keep my hip pressure down on top of him, and then I rotate the arm. Notice that I'm leading with my forearm. Once again, you can see my fingers aren't even holding. I'm using my forearm for the finish. So I go back, you're here, I got here, I extracted my leg, and he's blocking my head. I can't go over his head. Kick, end up here. Drive with your forearm, lead with your elbow, staple over his arm. He's blocking my hip. I can't just step over. Come up here, cut your knee through, and step over here, and then lead with your forearm. All right? Anyone want to see that one more time?
Sure.
Yeah. All right, awesome. So we're here, same exact setup before. Get this, but now he's blocking my hip. Kick, so you end up this way, and look, I'm going to drive. Notice, look, I'm using my forearm to push through and I lead with my elbow, so my elbow and forearm is doing all the work, not my wrist. For here, try to step over his head. There's other ways that I can bring my knee in and staple over him too. But sometimes he's keeping his elbow low and I can't bring this knee in. So I'm using my free leg to slide through and then step over. And the finish is real easy for me. All right, once you guys try that one. 1, 2. Yeah, it's blocking my kick, and I'm up here. Okay, drive through, and I'm leading with my forearm. And putting my whole body down. Alternate grip. The first way I showed you using your forearm is the strongest grip. But sometimes your hands get tired, sometimes it's hard to do, and I just want to rest a little bit. I shoot my arm deeper, and I'm going to cut and hug his arm just like this. My weight and balance is going to go on my right elbow. Everything's still the same. All right? And if for some reason I'm here, like Greg's pretty flexible, I might start cranking it. Oh, I feel like there's too much give. I'll just bring my elbow back and then use my whole forearm. So this is just an alternate grip. You're here, I shoot through, and I hug. And I'm like hugging and squeezing. Everything's still the same. All right, so you guys can do that. And yeah, we'll just leave it there for you. So once again, I'm not using my hands. Notice that I shoot through. I keep your arm kind of tight. I shoot through, and my forearm is over his wrist. And then I can drive with my elbow, my body, and my forearm to push his arm. Because if I just push with my hand, we're going to be here all day. It might take a little bit of time, but I'm putting my whole body. It's using a frame. Same way we frame in jiu-jitsu when we're trying to re-guard. I'm using my frame with my arm to get this. Push it down. Come up on both my feet to get an easy knee on belly. Cut through like we're doing a knee cut. Step over. All right, go ahead, add that. 1, 2. I'm going to go over to this. This is the bonus technique of the day, you can say. So this is probably going to be the hardest thing that we're going over today. I was teaching this last week, and some people were having a hard time. So we're here, right? Maybe he's connecting his hands together, and I just don't feel comfortable going to anything else we went over today. Look, my knee is already underneath his elbow, and I'm going to start to push up his knee a little bit to kind of flare it open, so I can start to thread my foot. But keep your hands up. Yes, to thread my foot. So go back and step. But we're here. I open up his knee, and I start to thread my foot. Now, the crucifix isn't strong with just one hook, so I want to get my other hook. And what I'm going to do is very similar to what we just did a moment ago, where I come up to my knee here. I notice that his head is like in between my, it's like on my rib cage, and I want to keep his head propped up. Now I'm going to start to push open this leg to kind of create as much space as I can, so I can start to thread my other foot over here. Once, most likely he's still keeping his hands connected. I'm not just going to push with my arms and legs. I give a little pop to separate. Once again, sliding down to his wrist to control his hand like this. Shrink down a little bit lower and grab here. For those who don't know, there's a really strong arm lock here with your legs, so I can pinch my knees, slide the X over my ankles down by his wrist, and then I can just bridge my hips back and get a tap with just this one. So again, we're here. He's keeping his hands connected. I open up his elbow a little bit, thread that drop up, and look, I'm going to start to push open. It might take some time to just wiggle and get my other leg in. Once I get my other leg in, I'm going to drop back down, and you can see I have a 2-on-1 grip with his arm, 2-on-1 grip with my legs. Pop to separate. Don't just stay here. Look, I control his wrist just like before. I shrink low so my chin is on his shoulder. I have this. Slide the X. Notice how I'm making an X with my legs over his wrist. I'm going to slide it down low. Keep my knee pinching, and I bridge. I don't want to go flat on my back. Bridging to the ground. Notice that I'm bridging sideways. And if for some reason I can't finish the arm lock from here, there's other choking options. A really easy option, I think, is if he bridges onto me. He does this and he puts me flat. It makes it hard for me to go for that arm lock. I'm just going to try to stay on the side, keep this leg clamped, hip underneath of him, and then I take his back with an arm trapped. So we're here. He's keeping his hands connected. I open up his elbow, thread my foot in, pick myself up. I'm going to open it up as much as I can and thread my other foot. It might take a little bit of time. I have 2-on-1 grips. Pop to separate. Control his wrist, get lower. I can go for the arm lock here. Common reaction is they bridge into me. Look, I'm going to try to stay turned into him. Keep this leg clamped. Scoop my other leg underneath. And now I have the back with an arm trapped and his other arm's trapped here. Does anyone want to see that one more time?
Yes.
Yeah. Like I said, this is going to be the hardest thing to go over today, but it's a really cool option. Pop open his elbow, thread this foot. It's also easier in no-gi because my foot gets kind of caught on the knee a little bit, but you can still do it. Thread the foot in, come up to your knee, lift his head up. See how his head's lifted off the ground? And look, if I need to, see if I can use this leg to push and open up as much space as I can. And I'll start to thread my other foot. Pop, separate. Once again, control his wrist. It's really big. Shrink down low, seatbelt grip. Either arm lock, or if he bridges in, see how my knee's facing this way? I'm going to try to stay facing into him as much as I can. Scoop underneath of him, take his back with the arm trap. All right, go ahead, give that a shot. 1, 2. Alright, so first things first, he gets an underhook, I pinch down low, I can start to put him flat, turn over, make sure you're not over his head or shoulder, go over here, and wrap up the Kimura. Kickstand, get your knee in, toes in, push pull, hip escape over his body, hip escape back under. Curling your wrists, keeping your elbows flared, your arms locked out straight, right here. First option, hip escape, knee goes underneath his shoulder, throw the foot over, rotate up, stretch out his arm, and I can go for the power Kimura here. Or if he sits up, I rotate with him. Look, I'm focusing on his hip to rotate around to end up in this position, and then I can finish. Option 2, we're here. Don't feel comfortable throwing my leg over. I just get out, pull myself up, stable over his arm, either break and finish here, or 2, shoot this arm a little bit deeper to cup on his hip so I can push off of it, throw my other leg over, sit back into the power. Option 3, he starts to rotate to try to turn and get out. He comes up to his elbow, jam your knee in, throw your other hook in, pick him up, pull him over, shoot the arm in, and the other back. Over here, another option is I get my knee underneath of his arm and hook here. I'll pick him up, rotate, take us back, just like before. Or if I go for the same thing, hook here, his arm ends up underneath, I come up, rotate through, and you have the back triangle. And then next, we went over the crucifix. Knee comes underneath, open his elbow, thread the foot through, pick him up, and let it open, stretch out his arm until I can get my foot in, pop to break, control the wrist, and either arm bar, or if he bridges in, take his back with an arm triangle. Then we went back to the beginning, where he gets an underhook, pinch down low, still flatten him out. Come over here, wrap up my Kimura, kickstand. This time, I want to go into that whole series, push pull, but he's blocking my hip. Kick to get my weight this way, drive with your forearm and your elbow to frame over. He's blocking my hip and my leg. Come up, cut through, step over, and finish. All right, let's just a quick recap. I'm going to hand it back over to Noah. If you guys have any further questions, feel free to come up to me after the whole seminar. So thank you once again for coming out. I really appreciate it.
And Greg, thanks. Jared, thanks. Steve, thanks for coming in from your school. Sabrina coming in. Appreciate that. And everybody from other schools, Paul, Phil coming in, John, who else we got? Siobhan, and Savannah. Where are you coming in from? You, Maryland. Was that? Maryland. Maryland? Well, okay. Am I forgetting anybody?